Delayed Blast Fireball.
Fire. Tool of mankind. Frankenstein deterrent. And cooker of sizzling Tex-Mex style fajitas. Yes, any way you look at it, fire is a pretty hot item. I mean that in a literal sense, and not in the sexual way you were thinking.
7th level evocation, casting time of 1 action, range of 150 feet, components verbal somatic material, a tiny ball of backguano, and sulfur. Duration, concentration, up to 1 minute. A beam of yellow light flashes from your pointing finger, then condenses to linger at a chosen point within range, as a glowing bead for the duration. When the spell ends, either because your concentration is broken or because you decide to end it, the bead blossoms with a low roar into an explosion of flame and spreads around corners. Each creature in a 20-foot radius sphere centered on that point must make a dexterity saving throw. A creature that takes fire damage equal to the total accumulated damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. The spell's base damage is 12d6. If at the end of your turn the bead is not yet detonated, the damage increases by 1d6. Okay, so this is already equivalent to an upcasted fireball at base. If the glowing bead is touched before the interval has expired, the creature touching it must make a dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, the spell ends immediately, causing the bead to erupt in flame. On a successful save, the creature can throw the bead up to 40 feet. When it strikes a creature or solid object, the spell ends and the bead explodes. Fire damages objects in the area and ignites flammable objects that aren't being worn or carried. At higher levels, when you cast the spell using a spell slot of 8th level or higher, the damage increases by 1d6 for each slot level above 7th. That upcast isn't worth it. So at max, if you can get the timer to run out, that is 22d6 of fire damage, allowing you to go over what a 9th level fireball immediately upcasted would have done. Almost like a trick. And you can still use this as just an upcasted fireball if you don't have the base fireball spell by letting it go the moment you cast it. Doing 12d6 is already doing the equivalent a 7th level fireball would have done. So even if it fails, you're getting the equivalent of the 3rd level spell upcasted to that equivalent level. Not the worst. The throwing feature I did not remember at all from this. I don't know how you would be able to abuse that? I mean, it could be useful and it would make for a great villain or player moment discovering it, grabbing it, and tossing it away from where it's about to detonate, but I'm trying to think of ways that you could abuse it. Well, this is a great, timed explosion of up to a minute, and a classic villain, the bomb's timer is gonna run out and then ignite this whole area, which in the radius would definitely still hurt. 20d6 to damage to structures and immediately ignites and anything within that radius. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. 22d6. For 7th level spell? That's a little over half the fire damage of a meteor from Meteor Swarm. No, that's over half the damage from Meteor Swarm, and 2d6 more than the damage of the fire from one Meteor Swarm. Or one meteor of meteor. It's a funky spell. On a failed save, the spell ends immediately, meaning if you're trying to take it away, it's going to immediately detonate anyway. I can't think of too many scenarios outside of the classical, railroad villain tying a woman to it, and the hero can stop it or throw it away in time. If you had dispelling, that would just be better. Less risk. No, but when it comes to outside of a situation where you already have someone restrained, you can just leave? I mean, you could also let it go to detonate, but then at that point it would just be better to have an instantaneous explosion, because the 20-foot radius is easier to come out of than it might seem. Like I said, this is if it's a villain scenario where you already have your target restrained, and you're just letting it build up to detonate and do that amount of damage, but why you wouldn't use those turns to just burn cantrips or have someone else hit it with melee attack or multi-attack? I mean, the scenario I can probably think of that everyone's likely going to point out is the use it on a stage or use it under a throne, which you definitely have points there, but you got to get into a situation where you can already cast it under that. And some other things like disintegrate, finger of death might be better to just get it over with versus the minute where things can go wrong. So 150-foot range, okay. Also, it says specifically a beam of yellow-white light. This isn't I'm invisibly planting a mine or explosive in a distance. It is here's this obvious pointer where it's going. So to make it stealthy, you would already need to you wouldn't be using the 150-foot range. I don't... Outside of a villain scenario or plot armor of we need to get rid of the time, but it is filling the role of dynamite with a clock tied to it. It's almost comical on how it can be diffused or just avoided. The only real benefit compared to just upcasting Fireball at this level is the fact that if in that golden scenario where the target's not moving or is unknowing about it, it's building up to something more than upcasting to 9th level with Fireball. 22d6 fire. That's decent. For a 7th level spell, that's pretty good. But outside of that perfect scenario where you can get a target to stay within that 20-foot radius for a minute, I just don't see it happening. I just don't. 3 out of 10. Outside of the slightly upcast range, it's already 4 out of 10. We'll give it some benefit of the doubt because it's already equivalent to an upcasted Fireball of this level. Well, I actually might be against it. The base effects of the spell are equivalent to a slightly increased range of a base level Fireball. And I might be getting the range wrong anyway. If you cast Fireball already to 7th level, it's already going to be doing 12d6. The only benefit is if you can hold it for over a minute, or hold it during that minute, adding up the d6 for every round that passes. But would it actually be that effective? I just see everyone running away from this or it being able to be stopped before it goes off. You're going to want that damage instantaneously in most scenarios anyway. It's too particular of a situation to actually make this effective. Versus just casting some other spell. 4 out of 10.